You ever like watch those videos of like Bob Ross making like a painting? You just sit there in awe. I feel like we have to make the same comparison because with NASCAR, Next Gen, and Kansas because those two is just it's just beautiful. Yo, what's up everyone? My name is Jet. Welcome back to episode of MDK Racing Victory Stop. Alright. First off, I just want to say I do apologize for not posting a video right after the race. I was away back at Pompano Beach with my family. And with the way timing worked, because of the rain delay and the race ended kind of late and I had to get up early to go back home, I wasn't able to get a video out in time, but now I am. So let's go over what took place at Kansas because, oh my God, once again, it just put out another beauty and the closest finish in Cup Series history. I mean, right from the very beginning, we had this great, from start to finish, stage one was incredible when you had Ross Chastain, Kyle Larson duke it out, battled throughout almost the entire way, Denny Hamlin later on. Then you had this awesome moment with Chris Buescher making it 5 wide at the start finish line. I mean, there was just so many moments in this race that just left you just with your jaw on the floor. And yeah, we saw some great racing. We even saw drivers that had, problems in the back make the way back towards the front. William Byron started in the back. He went up into inside the top 15. You had Denny Hamlin and Chris Buescher also had pit road issues that sent them to the back. Luckily though, in stage 3, we just had a trio or maybe 4 or 5 cautions back to back to back to back to back because track position is so important and your best chances of passing are on restarts. A lot of drivers went way too aggressive with it. I mean, the amount of times we just would go to green, caution, green, caution. Where at the first 2 stages, there was nothing except for the traditional stage yellows. Stage 3 started out all wonky. Now, because of those cautions that happened right at the beginning of the stage, it changed a lot of strategies. First off, it allowed Denny Hamlin and Chris Buescher to make their way back up towards the front following those pit road issues. But it caused an interesting fuel strategy to come into play. Because with these cautions, a lot of drivers, they tried to stick it out. With their crew chiefs, they tried to stick it out with the fuel strategy. And near the closing laps of the race, you saw Denny Hamlin, Buescher, Larson, basically letting off the gas, letting off the throttle to try and make it to the end. It was like a game of cat and mouse. It was kind of like the leader. It's like you want to push it, but you don't want to push it too hard. You then had a guy like Martin Truex Jr. who started 4th or 5th, was so far behind and just ate away at all the other drivers, ate away at Hamlin's lead, was right on his back bumper because he didn't save. He was trying to force Hamlin to save. It was a lot of very interesting strategy that was going on near the closing laps of the race, and it was setting up to be a great finish. And then Kyle Busch, who had a pretty good run today, was in the top 5, top 10 for a lot of portions throughout this race. Spin in turns 3 and 4, I think running in the 4th to 5th position, which sent us into NASCAR overtime. Now, I tweeted, I thought, oh man, it just ruined a great finish. Boy, was I wrong. Yeah, Kyle Larson and Chris Buescher and Denny Hamlin, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. At the restart, Larson, boom, bangs it to the bottom, takes a 3 wide on Hamlin and Buescher, and takes the lead. Buescher, though, on the other hand, gets a run on the high lane. He passes Larson, and Buescher leads at the final lap. Down the back straightaway for the final time, Buescher out ahead, trying to predict Larson's move, and Buescher goes to the middle, but Larson just goes 1 lane up high above him, squeezes it through the middle or through the outside lane, makes it work, and a drag race, they hit once, hit twice again, and at the line, it seemed Buescher had the win at first, and even at the scoring pylon, the Fox ticker, all said that Buescher won the race. Buescher's team were chanting. They were, happy, excited that they just won. Buescher was yelling, happy on the radio. And then, wait a minute. NASCAR says, no, the 5 car won by 1/1000th of a second. The closest finish in the history of the NASCAR Cup Series, not the closest finish in NASCAR history, but the closest finish in the NASCAR Cup Series. Kyle Larson by a centimeter, maybe a millimeter or even less than a millimeter if that's possible. But you had to go to like a very high speed camera to actually get a clear shot on who won the race. And that was the 5 car of Kyle Larson, who goes to victory lane for the 25th time in his career, tying Joe Weatherly for, I believe, 35th on NASCAR's all-time win list. There was a lot of controversy following that finish because a lot of fans looked at the line. They were saying that the line it was crooked, it wasn't correct. That there was an extra piece of tape on the actual racing surface, but on the apron, there was none of that. So a lot of people said that ain't fair. Larson, had, advantage from a line. Well, NASCAR says that they don't go by the line. They don't go by that. There was a wire, apparently, according to NASCAR, I heard that there was a wire on the racetrack that basically that's where they go off of. They don't go by the actual start finish line. They go by off of a wire on the racetrack that connects to that high-speed camera, and that's who they determine who's first and second. Now, the reason why that the timing scoring had Buescher win is because the transponder, I believe, is on the hood or near the rear of the car, and that had Buescher out ahead. So that's why the timing was all messed up, but that's how close this finish was. 1/1000th of a second. That breaks, I think, a 20 or 21 year record that originally went to the 2003 Darlington race between Ricky Craven and Kurt Busch. And I love that finish. That's one of the best finishes ever, but man, that final lap was unreal. And the fact that you had Chase Elliott and Truex Jr., I mean, hell, who knows? If Larson and Buescher had hit maybe another time or two, you may have had a 4-wide finish coming to the end. I mean, what a weekend for racing. The Kentucky Derby in a photo finish by your nose. Lando Norris winning for the first time in his career in Miami. And now you got Larson winning by a nose. maybe a hair of a nose on Chris Buescher. What a year for photo finishes this year. Atlanta by 3/1000ths of a second. Texas in the Xfinity Series, 2/1000ths of a second. And now this year, 1/1000th of a second. I mean, now the results will scroll on the bottom of your screen. Second place is Chris Buescher. Buescher had a great car. Again, like I said, recovered from that pit road mistake, but you got to feel for Chris. I mean, he took it with stride. I mean, he even tweeted out, thanking Denny Hamlin for racing him clean, and also gave a shout out to Kyle Larson, because a lot of people were giving Kyle Larson some shit about how he body slammed him or door slammed him coming to the finish, which really? We're really complaining about that. It's NASCAR, stock car racing, coming to the finish of the race. They sideswiped each other, or Larson sideswiped him, but Buescher kept it straight. It's racing. This ain't F1. This is stock car racing. Shut up. Like, I was really annoyed when there were people complaining about the way how Larson hit Buescher. It's like, shut up. It's racing. It's stock car racing coming to the finish of a race. I would do the exact same thing. Elliott, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, trio of Toyota JGR drivers of Truex, Hamlin, and Christopher Bell. Good rebound for Bell after he has had just a horrible streak of bad luck. Nice for him to settle in the top 10 for once. Alex Bowman, once again, another top 10 finish. Kyle Busch rebounds for 8th place. 9th, another top 10 for Noah Gragson. That 10 team, they just clicking it. They're there. Malcolm McDowell, great run for him in 10th place. And then you have Keselowski and Blaney, 11th and 12th. Nemechek, Gillen, and Josh Berry, the top 15. Stenhouse, Bubba Wallace had a surprisingly bad day. Both Bubba and 2311 Racing of Tyler Reddick, 17th and 20th respectively, both had pretty bad days. In fact, Reddick got into an incident on that final lap coming to start finish line where I believe he bumped or he just wrecked Austin Dillon. Austin Dillon then got into Corey Heim, and they both spun into the infield. But unusual bad day for 2311, which, coming to a track like Kansas where they have won 3 times, you would have expected them to run better. William Byron, 23rd, an odd, just off day for that 24 team. Never seemed to be in the mix, in position. Very unusual for the 24 to be that far off in this race. Ty Gibbs, Joe Logano had issues I believe, in stage 3. Logano spun, I think after contact with another driver, had a flat tire and was stuck and went multiple laps down. So that's why he finished so far back. Austin Cindric was caught up in an accident on the back straightaway involving Bubba Wallace and I believe another driver. And Jimmy Johnson, who started 19th, his best qualifying start since coming back to NASCAR, but finished 38th after he got wrecked by Corey LaJoie in turn 1. So yeah, now we got the results out of the way. Let's take a look at the point standings following Kansas. So Larson, once again, top of the board. Second, third, and fourth remains Truex, Elliott, and Hamlin. Tyler Reddick, minus 93 in 5th place. Blaney, now 6, minus 100. Byron falls to 7th, minus 105. And then Ty Gibbs, Alex Bowman, and Ross Chastain, who started off strong, had a great stage 1, but fell off after that point onwards. Chris Buescher up to 11th, Busch to 12th. Christopher Bell now back inside the top 16, up 4 spots to 13th. Chase Briscoe and Brad Keselowski holds the final spot in the playoffs, just 4 points ahead of Bubba Wallace. Joe Logano 18 points behind in the 17th position. Noah Gragson now in the top 20 for the first time this season, and Austin Cindric rounds of the top 20 at minus 252. So yeah, my thoughts on this race. I mean, I'm giving this a 10 out of 10. This is a 10 out of 10 race. I mean, it had everything you wanted. It had great racing, lead changes, crashes, drama, fuel strategy, and one hell of a finish. I know I don't know what is it with this. Actually, I can't even say next gen car, but Kansas, for some reason, even during that dreadful high downforce package, Kansas was one of those few tracks that it was good. Even with how horrible that high downforce package was from 2019 to 2021, Kansas for some reason just was able to perform. And ever since the next gen car, it has been on fire. I honestly cannot think of a bad next gen race for Kansas. I really can't. I don't know what they did with that repave back in 2012, but it has been money for the past few years. And man, I need to go to Kansas one day because it just seemed that it produces banger after banger after banger after banger. So I absolutely love Kansas, and I'm happy to see that once again it showed out. And again, with this next gen car, it's kind of funny with this next gen car that we've been talking a lot of crap about it the past few weeks because of how bad it is on the short tracks and road courses. Then we realized, wait a minute, it is amazing on the mile and a halves. And Kansas proved just that. Again, there's still issues with the next gen car, but I will never, ever be in the crowd of this is a bad car. It is not a bad car, and I will never agree to people saying that the next gen car is a bad car because it's not a bad car. There's great potential. Just NASCAR needs to make the right moves to make it so that it can be great on all tracks. But I've always had this feeling that next gen is a great car and has the potential to be a great car. So not surprised to see how well Kansas was. Obviously that finish though, I can't get over that. I mean, just let's look at this finish again. The way Larson just was able to squeeze through the middle. I mean, Buescher, he did good defensively. I did think that maybe he could have just gone up one lane higher, a little bit higher, because knowing Kyle Larson and how he is, he's going to send it on the final lap one way or another. So I could have maybe wished to see Buescher, move up just a little bit higher, but you got to get props to Larson, how he just had that I don't give a blank attitude and just sent it in 3 and 4 and made it stick and made it work to win that race. That was unbelievable from Larson. Man, now let's talk about Ford. Ford, once again, winless. I mean, this race was one of their better days. I mean, now let's talk about Ford. Now this was one of Ford's better days, I feel like. This year, I've said this in previous videos, that Ford has been very inconsistent. There are days and races where they're really good, and then there are races when they're just out of it. And this was one of those races where one driver, maybe one or two drivers, had great showings, and then everyone else was just, Buescher, like I said, finished second, but then you look at the next Ford driver to show up is Noah Gragson in 9th, and Ford takes up 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th with Gragson, McDowell, Keselowski, and Blaney. But Buescher was the only one that really, in my opinion, showed great speed. Everyone else was kind of, they were okay, they were there, but Buescher was the only one that showed great speed. And I feel like that's the theme with Ford. With Ford, almost every race, there's always maybe one or two drivers that are just wow, they just have that speed. But it's never with the Chevrolet or the Toyota drivers when there are multiple drivers in contention, like with Hendrick or with Gibbs. It's always with Ford, maybe one or two drivers that have great speed. Today was Kansas, but with Buescher, but outside of Buescher, he's really the only one that you could say had that speed that kind of just showed out, or that kind of stood out of everyone else. But yeah, 10 out of 10. That's all I can say about this race. Is a 10 out of 10. It was a NASCAR classic. For the closest finish in the history of NASCAR Cup Series to end that race, I mean, well, would you put that in the put of the year, of the race of the year category? Because I know I will. That was race of the year category worthy. And we got the Coke 600 coming up in a couple weeks. I mean, again, with this next gen car, we have our problems with it, but you cannot deny that when there are certain racetracks you go to and that next gen car is just going to put on a banger. And this season has been weird. We have seen some fantastic, amazing races like Atlanta, like a Kansas, like a Bristol, and then we've had some god-awful races. All of them have happened to be on short tracks, but it's weird. It's like there hasn't been a race where you really felt that, okay, that was all right. It did the job. I don't think there's ever been a did the job race. It's either been a bad, really bad, or great and really great. It's always one of the two, one extreme or the other. But again, I thought it was fantastic. Race of the year category worthy. What are your thoughts on this race? Let me know in the comment section down below. Did you love it? Did you find it amazing? If you hate this race, I really want to know why. I want to know what's wrong with you. If it's because Buescher lost, fine, understandable. But if as a race fan, you cannot tell me you love this race. But let me know, just what are your thoughts about the race coverage or what happened during the race in the comment section down below. As always, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content. Until next time, my name is Jet. Thanks for watching.